What's going on, Geeks? You're listening to episode 340 of the Geeks Under Grace podcast. My name's Cody Armour. I'm here with Lj.Lowery.
Yo.
And Shelley Nollan.
Hello.
This week, we're geeking out about Zack Snyder, a Marvel executive stepping down, and Last of Us Season 2 being just an arm's length. Arm's reach? Arm's reach. That would be the term I'm looking for.
Yeah.
We're not cutting it. We're going with that. There's a pun. So, puns are always great. They're always a hole in one. There, I got my golf pun in. I was trying. I was fishing real hard. Most people aren't going to get it. It's fine. We're going to move on. LJ, what video games have you been playing?
Yeah, so I've been playing a few things. I started on my stream, Captain America Super Soldier, which is an old PS3 game that came out like when Sega was doing those like Marvel movie games. And it's been pretty fun. It's honestly one of the better because like they did like a couple Iron Man ones, they did a Thor one, and they did this Captain America one. But this one, it's kind of neat. They definitely had to inspire. It's not like directly like ripping off, but it's a little bit of Arkham Asylum kind of. And it's got like a little bit of Prince of Persia jumping off stuff, running on walls kind of thing. It's not bad. It's pretty fun. I've decided I'm going to make playing like weird and obscure old games like a thing on my stream. So I'm like, this fits. Just like games that are people are like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing, or like, oh, I remember this thing. It's super weird. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my goal with that. And so this has been a fun one. The other game I decided to grab kind of out of left field only because I enjoyed the demo so much. And I really didn't like the demo I played on the first game, but for whatever reason, Octopath 2 just like got me. So I purchased Octopath 2 after playing the demo, and I really like it. Like, I feel like I got a good understanding of how the whole formula is supposed to work, and just like, you know, the way you're supposed to play it and go around and, you know, get party members and stuff and complete their stories. It just feels, for whatever reason, it feels like I understand how the game works a lot more than I understand the first game. And then, like, in the first game, I played the demo, and I played this, like, boss. I did this boss fight that just totally wrecked me in the first game, and I was just like, this is chapter 1, what is this? I'm like, this is... but, like, I don't know, I just feel like I understand Octopath 2 so much more. The one that I picked, the first one that I picked, her name is Ochette, and she's the hunter. And you can basically... It's got, like, a very loose... It's not even, I wouldn't even compare it to Pokemon, but you can capture the monsters you fight, and then they can all act as, like, skills, basically. So if you get this, like, manticore thing or whatever, that thing can, like, use a bite attack and attack all the enemies that you're staring at. Or you can use, there's this other creature that helps heal. So, like, there's different creatures that, you know, that do different things. You can also, like, if you decide you don't want to keep that creature, you can actually prepare it as a meal for, like, other bonuses and buffs and stuff for your party. So I was like, oh, and her story's really cool. So I'm going to, and that's the thing that got me, is like, oh, I'm like, I really liked her story, and it's going to be really fun to see, like, what the other characters are all about. And yeah, like, I feel like it really tells you, like, you know, the danger levels and stuff like that, level requirements of, like, the certain areas. So I already know that I'm like, okay, I may have to grind a little bit if I want to, like, you know, go in here or, you know, do stuff in here. I don't know, I just feel like it communicates everything very well, like, as far as an RPG goes, a JRPG, and I really enjoy it, and I'm not a JRPG guy, so, I mean, I play a few every now and then, but, like, I was like, wow, it's an exception, so.
Cool.
Yep, and then I'll talk about it more next week, but I do have a Steam Deck on the way. Steam is having their spring sale.
Yes, sir.
And Steam Decks are, like, 10% off, but I was like, you know what, maybe it's the time. I have 190 verified games in my library, and verified is like they completely work without issue, like they're specifically like formatted for it, and then there's still like even playable ones that probably have like minor issues that I could try or something, you know, like, and they would still work to some degree. So I'm looking forward to playing with that, but I'll talk more about that next week.
Cool.
Yeah. So what have y'all been up to?
Sweet.
I haven't played anything. Go ahead, Shelley.
No, I played a little bit more Ghost. I haven't been playing anything interesting or new. Although I am looking at that Steam sale that's going on right now, and I'm like, ooh, do I get anything?
I grabbed a couple things on there.
I'm very much debating, but anyway, no, I didn't play anything.
Cool.
Well, we will get into the gaming news then. I feel like it's going to be a short episode today.
Yeah, we're
Shelley,
keeping
you
it...
mentioned that. I'm in agreement.
Yeah, we're keeping it pretty light today. Nothing too crazy. I mean, last week we had a lot of great discussion, and it was a long episode.
Awesome.
So, the first piece of news is that apparently Zack Snyder told Video Games Chronicle that a Rebel Moon RPG is in the works, and Rebel Moon is his sci-fi epic movie that is supposed to be coming to Netflix. I have no idea what Rebel Moon is supposed to be, but I just feel like if Netflix was to have a Star Wars, this might be it. I don't know what kind of sci-fi it is. I don't know if it's a fantasy style sci-fi or if it's more like a Star Trek, or I really don't know what I don't know. I don't think we've seen any trailers or anything yet, or if we've seen many stills, but he says that they've been consulting him about an RPG and that they're going to have to, they want it to be a massive scale. They want to pick his brain for everything. And
so weird.
Yeah, and I'm thinking oh, we already got one of those coming. We already got Starfield on the way. So what is this? I'm curious to know even what Rebel Moon is, just because I'm curious.
Yeah. I hear Rebel Moon and I think Sailor Moon, but punk instead. Instead of the pink aesthetic, a punk aesthetic. But I know it's probably definitely not what that is.
A punk sci-fi thing would be kind of cool. I would, yeah. So we have no idea what it's gonna be, but I'd be curious to see what that is. And then the next piece of news is that Persona 5 is getting a mobile spinoff called Persona Phantom X.
So weird.
Yeah, and they said, I guess, they don't know when the official release is, but I guess they're doing a test in China on the 29th of March. Obviously it's going to have microtransactions and all that.
That's what I mean. It's I have to stay away. I get burnt out on those types of games. I played Fire Emblem Heroes for so long. I not necessarily going to be a gacha, I understand, but I don't know. Those pay-to-win games are just so dangerous. And I never actually spent any money in Fire Emblem Heroes. I was tempted to a couple times. I was well, I'm already putting this much time in it, but I'm just I just can't play those games. As much as I love Persona 5, I just have to avoid.
Yeah. It does have a trailer, and the trailer seems like it's going to look fairly close to Persona 5 itself. But I don't know if it's gonna be just battles or what. I mean, I'm sure that's obviously what I would think it would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see, I guess, because of the Persona system and how that works, I could see the gacha thing being a huge deal for Persona. Yeah.
Now, what would be cool is if they, because it's a phone game, actually integrated your calendar, or maybe not your calendar, but just a calendar.
Ooh, a real-time calendar? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because, that's such a thing in the Persona games, is you're going kind of doing stuff every day and you have deadlines. That'd be very, very interesting to see in a mobile game format where you're actually doing things day by day.
Oh, I just thought of an idea too. If they really want to get into the weeds with social links, maybe you have a friends list or something.
Oh,
and you,
or something.
Interact with friends that way, or send each other stuff, and maybe get social link bonuses that way or something. See, this does have potential to be a cool thing, but I don't think it'll be as
I don't know
cool
if it's going to be any of those.
Right.
No.
So it'll just, to me, it just seems like it's going to be a standard gacha game.
Yeah.
But we have no idea still.
And Joker has been in a gacha game before. I'm trying to remember which one, but he showed up, him and I think Makoto. So, not the first time.
Let's see. Yeah, there's been plenty of those crossovers. Whoa, so far from what I'm seeing, it looks like it might be an actual game.
What?
Yeah, so I'm seeing shots of this character. It's not Joker, but it does look like he's walking around in Shibuya, in class, interacting with characters. So if it's an actual game to some extent, then that would be really cool.
Interesting.
I see stuff of Mementos. Yeah, interesting. So I'm actually more curious now that I looked more through this article. So we'll have to see if it turns out as cool as like Cody was saying before. Like if there could just be more regular games like on the App Store.
I mean, I would pay more money for a game that wasn't going to do like a gotcha system.
But like from what I just saw, like that looks almost like a full game. So I don't know to what extent it will be. So anyway, that just actually piqued my interest the more I looked at it. So we'll have to see what it's all about. Also, a game, Persona 5, I still gotta finish. And here I am buying more games like a fool. So, anyway, that's gaming news for this week.
Nice.
Cool. Well, we get into the movies news then. I watched Ant-Man Quantumania again. I don't really have much more to add to it. My thoughts stay basically the same. I do think that the hate is... I just think we're in an era it's really hard to one-up Endgame, Infinity War, and No Way Home without just being a nostalgic mess.
Yeah.
And so I think this movie, like if it was pre all of that, people would have been like, this is so cool.
Yeah, like it's not a bad movie by any means to me. It's just very like middle ground. That's nothing.
Yeah, I think there's just nowhere to go, but down. Like even
is
visually,
it,
the visual effects are rough for some people, but even that, like, Endgame would have been fine.
Did you like it more or less than Black Panther 2? Or is it not really fair to compare them?
It's so hard to compare for me just because
they're different
Black
movies.
Panther 2, I think, was like not... The movie was okay, but it was more the emotional backing behind it.
Yeah,
I was just curious because, I don't know, I'm trying to rank them.
But I don't know how that movie would have done without... an actual human being dying and then being,
that's pretty crazy.
Used throughout the entire movie. There's nothing really like it.
Yeah,
it's a really weird and kind of messed up thing to think about, but you're totally right. Like, I'm sure it would have still been a good movie, but it would have been so different, right? It would not have.
Yeah.
Would Rihanna have sung? Would they have gotten Rihanna to sing? I just don't know. I kind of don't know.
Simple as that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
kind of crazy.
There's a lot attached to that movie. Like if Paul Rudd had died, and then they made this movie, I would have been like,
dude, don't even
so powerful.
Don't even joke about him dying. I love that man so much.
He's immortal.
Oh, dang! That just reminded me about Lance Reddick this week.
Oh,
yeah.
That one hit.
Very sad.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I compare it more to the Doctor Strange and Thor.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Others I guess technically Black Panther was.
It's really good out of all the bad Marvel movies that have come out.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. I would say it's a better watch than Thor and Doctor Strange, which we've discussed before.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Also, I need to watch Creed.
Yes.
Because Jonathan Majors is like becoming one of my favorite actors. He's just so...
He's so cool.
He's so good in Creed.
He has such small little mannerisms in his acting that are so specific to the moment, and that I'm really excited to see him do more. He's just very intentional in all ways that I've never seen.
Like even thinking about him as like when he plays He Who Remains and kind of a thing, I'm just like, oh, like that dude is a really good actor.
Yeah. The only thing that I can compare it to, just his acting in general, this is kind of a tangent. It's going to be really random, but Orlando Bloom in the first episode, the first scene of Carnival Row, which no one's seen. No one really cares about that show. But Orlando Bloom is interrogating someone in the very beginning of that scene. Or, I guess, interviewing someone. I don't know if they're interrogating. He's just trying to, like, solve a crime. And so he's listening to what she's saying, and it's just a close-up of his face reacting to everything that she's saying. And you can just tell exactly what he's thinking. This is true. Cool. This is interesting. This is not. I don't care about this.
He's a good actor. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so... I love little things like that where it's just like really intentional mannerisms and things. It's cool.
Sweet.
Really
nice.
cool to do. Cool. But that's all I've seen. So go ahead, LJ.
Yeah. So I watched. So everybody's been talking about DC a lot lately. Just when I realized I was not feeling great last night after coming home from a party, being around germs and stuff, I was like, I'm just gonna go to bed early and watch a movie. And I was like, well, let's see what HBO has. And I put on DC Super Pets randomly. And I was like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna pay.
Is that the new one or is that an older one?
It's the new movie.
I just didn't realize it was already. Well, I guess it was in theaters a while ago. Anyway.
Yeah,
continue.
it's been a year or so, probably more. Maybe a year. Actually, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was fine. It's definitely Pets. It's definitely the Pets movies, but DC. Like that's basically the pitch. And it actually was not terrible. The only thing I think I realized is I'm getting kind of tired of Dwayne Johnson being in everything.
Oh no!
Just hearing him as Crypto was kind of weird, but also my memory of Crypto the Super Dog, the original cartoon, is still there. So I'm just like, I feel like he needs to be more cheerful and like.
I haven't watched that show. I watched that.
He's just not this like, just the way I don't know. Like I just feel like the character, the dog. It's just I don't see this like the Rock. I just don't see the Rock's voice just coming out of that like 3D modeled like character. It feels weird hearing it.
Yeah.
But the other characters I kind of like. You know, there's all these different pets that they get different superpowers. There's this whole plot as to why everything happens the way they are. There's this turtle that has like super speed. This old turtle that's like super funny. Which is ironic. There are like parts of this that I'm like, okay, like that's got some charm to it, but I think ultimately it's just like it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's also not really that great either. It was actually the perfect movie for me to be like, yep, I'm just gonna fall asleep to this for a little while. But I caught most of it. I watched most of it, and I was like, okay, yeah, that's not bad. It's fun. It's kind of like I could see like I could see why they came up with that idea, and I could see some charm in it. But I'm just like, yeah, like this is if like the actual Pets like movie hadn't been a thing already, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, this is pretty cool.
Are you talking about The Secret Life of Pets?
Yeah, The Secret Life of Pets. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So if that movie hadn't already been a thing, I was like, I would have been like, yeah, like this is actually pretty clever. And then I think even Kevin Hart is in it too. Like Kevin Hart plays Ace, and I'm just like, oh,
yes,
yeah,
he does.
Kevin Hart's already in another pet movie, basically. I'm just like, this is not...
Literally, not just basically. He literally is.
It just felt like casting The Rock and Kevin Hart was low-hanging fruit to me. Like, I know
yeah.
To me, that's more low-hanging...
Chris Pratt and Tom Holland.
Yeah, so, honestly, like, I know people joke about Chris Pratt being the one, but I feel like casting The Rock and Kevin Hart and everything is probably the most low-hanging fruit you could get these days. Like, so...
and not to shame on them as actors.
Yes.
But they do both bring a very specific like energy that only they bring, and it works really well with them together, which is why they're already in so many movies together. And so if you see another movie with them in it, you're kind of watching the same movie you've already seen.
Oh yeah, like the first movie I ever saw them in together was Central Intelligence, and I liked that movie way more than I thought I would. But then after that, I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, it's The Rock and Kevin Hart. So I feel like them being in it is probably like, yeah, like I feel like that's just kind of like, okay, we've done this before.
Other than that, goes back into that, like I talked about High on Life, that game, from Rick and Morty creators. You kind of get into that one trick pony.
Yes,
sense. Like they're not doing anything different. It's just the same thing again with different faces.
Yes,
in animation.
Yeah, I thought this movie could have been better if they had. If they maybe had different voice actors for them. Keanu Reeves' Batman is hilarious because they play so hard on the edginess of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that is clever. Like,
it kind of works.
I enjoyed seeing because like the heroes are in it enough to where like they're kind of all right too. You know, like it feels like a better comparison. It feels like if somebody wanted to blend like The Secret Life of Pets and Megamind. Except, like, it's not near as funny as, like, a Megamind. I just feel like if those two movies in a mediocre, like, mix-up is DC Super Pets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which sounds like it could have been way better. Like recalling it a mix between Megamind and Secret Life of Pets. Like sounds like it should have been a way better movie. But it's just kind of meh.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
But yeah. Anyway, I watched it, so now you don't have to if you don't want to.
Nice.
Thanks, LJ. Doing us a solid.
Yeah.
At some point, I'm gonna watch, of all movies, Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah.
Keeps coming up on like social media, and I haven't seen the movie, and I want to.
Apparently, it's really good. You should watch it.
But I always decide that I want to watch it like an hour and a half before the podcast, so I don't, because I'm like,
Bruh.
oh, I'm not gonna get it finished in time. We'll do it later.
There's a lot of movies like that where I see pop up on like a streaming service, and I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to watch that, and I just never do.
Yeah, at some point I will. What have you been watching, Shelley?
Yeah, so I also watched a pretty silly movie that involved animals, except I actually really liked this movie. The Cat Returns. Yeah, I watched The Cat Returns. I had actually never seen it before. The only other time I remember seeing it was in a sushi restaurant, and it was just on in the background. And I was like, I knew enough. I was like, oh, I recognize that, like, you know, that cat. Like, oh, this has to be The Cat Returns. But it looked so trippy, and like I wasn't really paying attention. And you couldn't hear anything, so I was like, well, maybe eventually I'll watch it. That was like years and years ago. So, and eventually, I don't even know why. I think we were just kind of in the mood to watch something kind of fun. And for some reason, we're just like, let's just watch The Cat Returns. And so we did. And I thought it was going to be a bad movie. I thought I'd heard it was not a good movie. Whoever told me that lied. It is a pretty good movie. It's very fun. It's definitely.
I haven't heard bad things about that movie at all.
I don't know why. I feel like I had heard. I think it's always like, maybe it's always in comparison to like Spirited Away and Howl's Moving Castle and Princess Mononoke.
It's an older
and Kiki's
movie
Delivery
too,
Service.
so
It's a 2001 movie. It's not that old, at least in comparison to other Ghibli stuff.
Okay.
But what I didn't realize is that I had never actually seen Whisper of the Heart. Apparently, Whisper of the Heart kind of is. There's like a connection between them because the Baron is in both of them.
Okay.
But it's not like their actual. It's not like a sequel prequel scenario. It's kind of like the Baron shows up in Whisper of the Heart, I think. And again, I haven't seen it, but then like the character of the Baron comes back in the second movie, but there's like not really any sort of like connection with the characters or anything. So I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I did not know that. But anyway, yeah, it was really fun, and I usually am pretty good about recognizing voice actors pretty early on. It's weird because like I'm more when it comes to like anime or like Fire Emblem video game voice actors, I feel like I'm like, oh, I recognize that voice. Where's that voice from? I kind of get it. It's so funny how I'm realizing when it comes to like actual like celebrity actors, I like don't recognize it right away. It always takes me a while because Anne Hathaway is the main character in the English dub that we watched.
Yeah, they get some big names for those Ghibli movies.
They do. And then Tim Curry's in it. And I'm like, why did I not realize that was Tim Curry? Of course it's Tim Curry. That's so funny. I think those were the two like main like big voice actors. But I just thought that was so funny. And I was like, yeah, of course it was them. And like they did a really good job. But it's like it really is these Ghibli movies, like for these English dubs, they go so hard. Like I still think about Ponyo having Liam Neeson, the youngest Jonas brother, Noah Cyrus, I believe.
Or like Howl's Moving Castle having like Christian Bale and stuff
exactly.
Like that.
Like they just go hard, and it's just like it's crazy. But anyway, it's just a fun little movie. If you like cats, and if you like just kind of having a weird, doesn't make a ton of sense, kind of good time. I just love how low stakes everything is. I mean, it's not that there's necessarily, like, not high stakes in some ways, but I think, again, just in comparison to, like, all these other Ghibli movies that I love and watch, I guess Kiki's Delivery Service also is fairly low stakes in some ways, until, like, the very end, but it's, like, it just felt like, you know, everything is just about this girl, and all of this crap happens because she saves a cat's life. That's like, and that's not really a spoiler. That happens in the first like 5 minutes or whatever. It happens like super early on in the movie. Like she just saves this cat's life, and her entire life just like changes. And it's just really funny how that kind of like turns out. Well, yeah, so and it's I don't know, it just hits a lot of really fun notes. It's so silly seeing these cats walk around on two legs and talking. You're just like, what's happening? And the protagonist is asking the same questions. I think another reason I really liked it is because the protagonist is just so... I'm trying to remember her name, so that's why I keep saying protagonist. I don't remember her name. She is so relatable. Like, all of her reactions and all of her... And, I love Anne Hathaway, too, so that probably helped. But she's just, like, so relatable. And, like, all of her reactions to all these things happening around her. And she's just, like, a teen girl. And she's just, like, acting like any normal teen girl. And I just thought, like... I'm just, like, so many times in the movie, I'm just, like, I can relate. Like, or, like, I just felt like I could, like... I saw myself in her a little bit. So I think that probably also made it pretty enjoyable for me. But yeah, it was just kind of a fun, silly movie. And I definitely recommend it if you already like silly movies. If you haven't checked it out, I think you'll really like it.
Cool.
Sweet. We'll get into the news then.
Yeah, let's talk about movie news. Not a ton of stuff here. The first thing I want to talk about is that apparently Denzel Washington is sort of talking with Paul Mescal about Gladiator 2 of all movies.
I'm kind of excited.
I'm very interested on what a sequel would be like. It's kind of
Denzel Washington. I don't think I've ever seen a Denzel Washington movie that I didn't like.
Yeah.
He's so good. He's such a good actor, dude. He's awesome. Yeah. But this, it's like...
I jumped ahead.
But it's also like... Hollywood, once again, being like, hey, remember this movie you liked when you were, like, either little or, like, a long time ago, like, decades ago kind of thing? Like, oh, this movie that you really like? We're just gonna make a sequel, like, out of nowhere. And you know what? Sometimes it hits. I feel like most of the time it doesn't. But if Denzel Washington's gonna be in it, like, we don't know what he would be doing.
Yeah.
It's all just talks. It's all just kind of, like, sort of rumors almost at this point, but I'm just saying he's great, and I don't know a clue what it would look like. I never watched the first Gladiator, but obviously it's like
so good.
It's super iconic. Good. Yeah, it's super iconic. I know that for sure. And who knows, maybe whenever if Gladiator 2 is happening, maybe I'll watch the first one. But I just think that's so funny. Like Hollywood, and they're just trying to revive these old franchises and these old things because they're just unoriginal and they're just trying to. But again,
reminds me of
Denzel Washington, like
bit of Passion of the Christ 2.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
it was like
that's gonna be so weird.
And then like that
kidding.
Family Guy bit has like Chris Rock in it or something, and it's like a rush hour kind of like. Yeah, that's what I just think of when I hear like Gladiator 2. I'm like, yeah, this is just. It seems like. That bit is like what you're describing about Hollywood. It's just like they're gonna pick everything they can to make a sequel out of.
Yeah. Anyway, but I don't even really have much more to say about that. I just think that's kind of an interesting thing. And if that all pans out, awesome. And if it doesn't, I may not. But that's just sort of come down the pipe. So any of you Gladiator fans out there, might be something to look forward to. The other thing I want to talk about is James Gunn.
Yeah.
He is officially directing Superman Legacy. That's going to be coming out, I believe it said July 11th, 2025.
Ooh, that's my birthday. Nice.
Well, it's crazy because the tweet says it's his dad's birthday that day, too.
Oh, that's so cool.
Mm-hmm. So,
that's a trip.
Like, he said that he was on the phone with his brother and, like, told him the date, and that his brother started crying. And he's like, why are you crying? He's like, oh, that's our dad's birthday. And he's like, oh, I didn't realize.
Oh, that hits me even more. Oh.
So, anyway.
Perfect.
And it sounds like it's really going to be kind of like, he's trying to emphasize he's just a boy from Kansas. He has the best ideals, and he's trying to, fulfill those good old American ideals. He doesn't want to kill anybody. And I'm just like, you know what? Something about that is a little bit refreshing.
That's Superman, though.
Like, that's what I mean. It's like, I feel like we've seen so many, and not that they're bad, because I really love Invincible, for example, right? But I feel like we've seen so many
dark and edgy
twists.
Movies, yeah.
Exactly, like dark twists on these superheroes, like The Boys and stuff. And so it's like, and obviously, again, like The Boys is a very good show. Invincible is a very good show. There was also I remember there was one movie that was basically trying to do the same thing of like, oh, he's like this little boy
Oh, the
who
horror
has like
movie?
Superman. Yeah, and apparently it was really bad.
I forget what. Yeah.
Honestly, the best original twist, Megamind. Always has been Megamind. Always will be Megamind.
Yeah.
It came before all these other shows.
Yeah.
We never really need any others besides Megamind, if I'm being honest. But I just think for once it's a little bit refreshing to see them try to like James Gunn specifically try to like actually commit to the goody two shoes Superman and not try to be like, oh, but his secret evil side or like he's so powerful that blah 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 blah. Like it's like with Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
It works really well with Spider-Man. He's so similar. Like Spider-Man's also really powerful, right? Not as powerful as Superman, but like even within like Marvel comics, like he's like one of the strongest like in the comics.
He's one of the most solid guys, yeah.
He's also just a really nice guy, and he does sort of stick with these ideals, not from Kansas, from New York, of course, but I just feel like, I don't know why people are always bored with Superman, but that, I don't know, maybe because he's quippy and he's funny with Spider-Man, and that he's younger, I don't really know what it is. All I'm saying is, like, you can feed into that, like, sort of energy with Superman, I bet. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have to be quicky or quirky, but I think in the sense of his ideals, like people love Spider-Man also for his just like ideals and like what he sticks up for. I feel like you could pull that off with Superman. Yeah. It sounds like James Gunn maybe is going to try to do that. I do think it's going to be weird to, I mean, I guess I haven't watched a lot of James Gunn's more recent stuff that he's been directing. But when I think of James Gunn, I do still just think of Guardians, and I just think of like weird humor that kind of hits sometimes and really doesn't hit other times. So I'm like, is that going to happen in this?
Is basically very Guardians.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like...
rated R, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's like... obviously, that's like kind of his go-to for things, but maybe he'll be trying something different here.
See him direct, like a normal movie. Like,
when you brought up Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man's a good, I guess, example. I always think of like Captain America.
Oh, yeah,
very, like...
That too. He's
they
maybe
kind of
even
made
better
fun
example.
of him for being such a Boy Scout in the movies. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I think if you really like go in on that, it's like, truth, justice, the American way.
Yeah.
And Superman's just being like over the top, like good guy from Kansas in the big city. I don't know. I think there's a lot to play with there, especially if you're going with the younger Superman.
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's true.
People him just being like overly good.
And like there's lessons he can learn. He can still develop, and like I'm sure he will, but it doesn't mean that he has to like turn evil or like become dark and twisted. Maybe just like sort of humbling, or like a realization that like ideals like that don't always pan out the way you think that they will.
Yeah.
But you can still be yourself, and like you could grow in your ideals, and you can grow and change and figure out how to like best live to those ideals.
Like that's always, I thought it was weird, the Batman vs Superman movie, that the annoyance is like all the destruction that Superman could do, but in the comics and in the animated shows and everything, you always see Batman and Superman, and Batman is like constantly annoyed about how nice Superman is. Like,
which is so funny.
He's overly good, and if you're gonna have a Batman Superman interaction again on live action, that's what I'd want to see. Is like an overly edgy Batman. I think Pattinson did great. Like definitely that tone versus a Superman that's just way too nice and good and pure, and Batman being like, this is the real world, and Superman just upholding to those beliefs no matter the cost. And I think that cost could be the drama that you would see in the movies. But
it's true. Yeah, I feel like you can make Superman likable. I feel like if anyone could do it, James Gunn might as well give it a shot.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll just have to see. It'll be out in a couple of years. We got a couple of years from now, so not super soon. We'll kind of see how it goes. Probably the biggest news, though, in the movie realm is shifting away from DC to Marvel, actually. So, Victoria Alonso, who was one of the like top executive directors within MCU, is actually no longer working with them, and it's not super clear if it was like she got fired or if she left, but we know that it was like a sort of an effective immediately kind of thing, which always means from one side or the other, it's not amicable, right? That's kind of what that means, right? So that's kind of crazy because she's been, and she was kind of like the head of like the graphics, VFX, sort of effects, things like that, for a while now. So it could be like, hey, these recent movies haven't been looking so good, or like these movies haven't been performing very well. We need to, make changes. Or on the flip side, maybe she's like, hey, I don't like doing this anymore. I don't like, I want to like, I mean, there's so many things that could be happening, right? But the significant thing is that this is someone who's been around literally since like Iron Man, right? Or maybe before, but like has been there since the beginning of this MCU thing. Has been there supporting and helping create all the highs, the super duper high highs of MCU, and is now gone. And that's going to be significant. Whether it's like, for the best or worst, I don't know. But that's just kind of crazy to think that she's just not with them anymore. So
I mean, the VFX, I think, have been a pretty large part of the criticism in a lot of these movies lately, too.
Yeah.
I mean, whether people think they are actually, like, I don't know. I just think it's one of those things where people criticize that stuff, and I don't know if they actually... nobody knows how this stuff actually works, aside from the people that make it, but, like, the VFX stuff have been a large criticism, especially with, like, the She-Hulk stuff, with Thor, Love and Thunder, and then Ant-Man looking like Spy Kids 3 all over again, like, kind of a thing. Like, it's just, I feel like that has been a large part of the criticism, so, like...
I think you're right.
Either way, whichever way this actually went, I think those criticisms do have some merit, I think, as to, like, her departure. Either way.
Yeah, and I know most of the criticisms I heard have... I mean, there has been a quite big level of, oh, this just looks awful. But I think when people kind of get down to it, a lot of people are sort of accepting it's like, they're just not giving these artists enough time. Like, these artists are getting really rushed. They're getting pushed really, really hard. It's looking like video game industry over here. Yeah. A little bit. So, I do think that has to be a factor in some way, but we really don't know, like, kind of like what side of this, and we don't really know what the effect will be, because we don't know if she was the one pushing for that and supporting overworking artists, or we don't know if she was one saying like, hey, we need to slow down and we need to like let the artists do their job. Like, we literally have no clue. But I do think it's probably a factor.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully she didn't want more stuff.
Right, yeah.
Or hopefully she didn't want less stuff and is now gone, and then they're going to continue making more stuff. That's what I'm trying to say.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
We need less stuff that's quality, instead of more stuff that's not quality.
Right.
Exactly. They need to take a note from the other side of Disney. They realized that with Star Wars, right? We just talked about that. And they need to really take that note with Marvel as well. Which I think they have to be, right? But I don't know. How much trust do I have in them? Not a lot.
Yeah.
We'll see.
But yeah.
I think they've shown that they do plan to take a step back at least a little bit, with the shows at least. When we were supposed to get more and more shows, and we're going to get to...
I think you're right.
And it's funny because, like, I'm like, that's great. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get these shows that I want to watch. But I think it's definitely for the better for them to take the time and really, like, set these up to be quality shows.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need more Boba Fett's. We need more Mandalorians.
Or more Andors.
Yeah. More Andors, less Boba Fett's.
Andor.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right. And speaking of shows, maybe we should talk about the shows that we've been watching.
Yeah. I'm gonna step right into Mandalorian, if that's okay. LJ, you've been watching Mandalorian as well. You caught up?
Yeah. This episode I feel like, was kind of weird.
It's the best. It's not the best Andor episode ever, but it was so good. It felt like Andor again.
Oh.
It felt like Andor.
It just
I was like, wait.
All about it.
I just felt like so it's kind of a departure from usual Mando stuff. But also, it's like, I feel like it's going to lead into something more, and there's a lot of theories about what it's leading into. And I'm like, okay, like, it was one of those things where I'm like, did we need to spend this much time on this thing? But also, I'm hoping that like it does pay off. But also, you still get some fun Mando like adventure action as well. So it's like there are things that do happen in this episode. So
yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it's very much like you get some Mandalorian scenes, and then it just turns into a different show.
Yes,
Different characters,
Cool.
different setting.
It almost felt like a
neat.
Blade Runner or Star Wars like episode.
Yeah.
Like it was like they're like, hey, let's make Star Wars into like a Blade Runner thing. Almost.
It felt like Andor to me, and I was happy for it. I was like, at first I go, oh man, I really want to know what's gonna happen next in Mandalorian's life. But I got like probably 10 minutes into it, and I was sold. A lot of people don't feel that way. I was seeing some reviews and things on the internet. Most people are pretty bummed that the last Mandalorian episode was not a Mandalorian episode, especially after the one before it, episode 2, set some really cool things up, and then they basically ditched all of that for this.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So definitely an interesting creative choice, but
Yeah, I'm curious because like I'm asking myself, I'm like, are we fatigued on this? Like, is this just not that cool anymore, or is this like the way they're just pacing out the season so far? So it's like I'm more curious than like I'm obviously down for more of the show, but at this point I'm just in a curious place rather than like, okay, I'm so pumped for the next episode. I'm more like,
Right.
oh, like where
I
are
see.
we
You're
gonna
just
go
like,
from
what's happening?
Like, where are we
here?
going to go from here at this point? Like,
Yeah.
I'm lost.
Huh.
Not lost, but I'm just like, okay, all right. Like, let's see what you. Let's
again,
see
not
what
to
you
give too
guys
much
got.
away,
Yeah.
but they've set up 3 different like huge plot points for the season, and I don't feel like they're gonna all collide. I feel like we're probably gonna get one. Like, we set 3 different things up, but we're only gonna get one of them answered by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And I don't know which one it is at this point, but the first episode set up an interesting thing, and then the second episode set something up very interesting, and this is like something totally different.
Yeah.
My biggest
Gotcha.
concern, and I'm sure that they have the season planned out, but I believe it was, is it, who's doing Mandalorian? It's
John Favreau and Filoni. Yep.
Filoni. Filoni has made a statement saying that he doesn't really know how the show's going to end. They're just kind of making stuff. They're in the middle of it. They don't have like an end point for the show as a whole.
That
And
kind of
so-
scares me.
Yeah, I don't want them to set up a bunch of really cool things and then never get a chance to like flesh them out.
Like, I hope that they didn't already be like, oh, let's make season 1 and 2, and then now like maybe some executives are like, okay, this is our moneymaker, this is our hot thing. You got to keep making more, or you got to rush
Right.
into making more. So
Yeah.
now I hope they're not like I hope they're not in a place where they're like at a loss of what to do next.
Yeah, or setting things up that we're like, we'll answer that later. Like, I need you to have an end point. You should always, storytelling should always, I feel like, work from an end point.
And that's what
reverse
scares
engineer
me
it.
right now too. Is
I
like
feel like we're
I
gonna have
don't really...
5 or 6 different things happening, and none of them will be answered. The show will be canceled. Everyone will be over Star Wars.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
It makes me nervous.
it's a weird place It's in a weird place right now, which I kind of
Yeah.
agree with. Like, I want to be excited, but I'm also like, should I be? Like,
But totally, so different. The
Yes.
first season or first episode, very campy and funny, and just silly, I guess.
Yeah.
And then this last episode was very serious. Like,
oh,
totally
yeah.
2 different shows.
Like, if they're trying to set up another show through this or something, or like whatever, I'm just like, okay. Like, we've seen them do that before, almost like with having episodes of Mando inside Boba Fett, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, okay. Like, I'm just like, what are y'all doing with this?
I'm interested in the next 2 episodes, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
They've got some really cool things that they can do, and hopefully.
And yes, like after the way that episode did end, I'm like, oh, okay, like really, all right. So I'm just like, that's the part that has me excited, but then also the other part of it, I'm just like, okay, where are we going? Yeah.
I will relate. There are characters in the first episode that nowhere near the same feeling that I got from watching Boba Fett when they had the 80s guys on mopeds running around. And it was so cheesy.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And the characters in episode 1 remind me of that, like, just kind of weird campiness. And then this felt like I didn't hate the mopeds. They were just ridiculous and didn't feel like Star Wars at all.
Yeah.
That's how the first episode played out. That's really all I've been watching, though. LJ, I'll let you keep going.
Okay, I'm watching more of TMNT, the original cartoon. I feel like I've slowed pace on it. I feel like I've slowed pace because now I just kind of want to progress further. There has been some cool episodes of like certain characters that have been introduced, like Baxter, becoming the fly version. The punk frogs were pretty hilarious. Just pretty weird. So like. Now I feel like I'm getting into the weeds where TMNT gets real crazy. Like, I feel like TMNT, most people are like, okay, the Turtles and Shredder. But then I feel like the new movie is going to get into some of the zany, like, the mutant stuff. Like, that stuff gets wild. And then, like, I'm reminded that eventually, I think in later seasons, they go into, like, space and stuff, too. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Turtles is good. Like, it gets crazier.
They're nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just like I'm kind of also looking forward to some of the weirder seasons too. So that's been exciting to still kind of go through. And then I did watch the first episode of Ted Lasso season 3. This came out Wednesday, which I'm also kind of like it's being labeled as like the final season. Like it's wild to see such a really successful show.
Only get 3 seasons.
Only 3 seasons long, which I think it's like, wow. I think that's a great idea. It's like,
yeah,
it's like what we were talking about with Mando. Like, I don't know, like just based on the first episode, I don't know how they're going to end things. But also it kind of like scares me because I'm also like, aw, like I love these characters. They're so wholesome. And just everything is so positive that I'm just like, this first episode does have, the wholesomeness to it, but also it feels like, oh, are we actually going to get, like, a little more serious on some things this season? Like, as far as, like, certain topics go? Because I'm like, you're going to have to deal with a lot of things with it being the final season. So I'm just, it's also another, like, I'm like, okay, we're strapping in for this ride. And, like, knowing Ted Lasso, it's going to be such a wholesome show, but I feel like it being the final season is going to be, like, emotional. So I'm just like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I'm just like, I love the happiness and the wholesomeness that not just the show, but just, like, the character, like, of Ted Lasso just brings. And, like, all the characters. Like, it's a show that bucks every trend of, like, every trope, I should say, of character. Like, there's certain characters that showed up in the show originally that I'm like, oh, they're going to be, like, the antagonist, or they're going to be this, they're going to be this particular type, and there's a lot of characters that just have not stuck that way, and characters that have grown.
We love to see it.
That. Yeah, and so it's just like it's got so much depth for being like such a short like show, and I'm just like, this is great. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of what Ted Lasso is going to be like for the final season. So, yep, that's it.
What about you, Shelley?
So, I'm still on season 1 of Mandalorian. I think at this point we're just going to wait until the show is done, or at least the season. That the season's on, and then just kind of watch it from there. Especially with what you guys are talking about. I'm like, I'm not really feeling that excited about it right now. But, so, we started watching new anime, and the way we got to this point was ridiculous, because I don't know if you guys remember last week, but I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna watch the Cowboy Bebop movie. So we were like, fully set to watch this Cowboy Bebop movie, and we go to Netflix because that's where we've been watching Cowboy Bebop, and it's not there. We're like, okay, they own the rights, and okay, it's not here. Fine, it's probably on Crunchyroll. We check Crunchyroll, it's not there. We look it up, says it's on Prime. We check Prime, it's not there. We're like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Our Hail Mary is YouTube. Everything's on YouTube. It's not on YouTube.
Wow.
It's not there. And so we're like losing our minds. We're like, we don't really want to like, I don't know. We want to watch this legally. You know what I'm saying?
Is it not on a digital service somewhere? That's pretty wild.
We could not find, I think the only one that it maybe is on is Hulu, but we don't have Hulu. So we're just like, this sucks. I guess let's watch something else. And so then we're thought, oh my gosh, we should watch Persona 4 the animation, because apparently it's really good. And Daniel has not played Persona 4, so it would still, all the story beats and stuff would be a surprise to him. We go to Crunchyroll. Persona 4 Golden, the animation is on there, which is not the same. It's just like some extra random anime scenes of stuff that happens in Golden, just the Golden version of Persona 4. It's not actually like the story.
Huh.
Or at least it isn't the story up until the very end, which is like... Anyway, it's not what we're looking for. We're like, okay, it's not here? Well, where do we watch it? Because Persona 5, the animation is here. And Persona 4 Golden, the animation is here. Where do we watch Persona 4, the animation, non-Golden? And we're looking it up. Turns out nowhere. You just can't find it anywhere.
Wow.
It's just on no streaming services. Potentially, if I popped a VPN, I could get it, but I don't have a VPN. So, 2 disappointments in a row. I was mad at this point, because I was like, basically so sad about Cowboy Bebop, and then it's like, oh, I'm putting all my marbles in Persona 4, the animation. I'm like so in the mood to watch an anime like this, and then we can't find it, and now we're just mad. And then, so we're like, okay, we just want to watch an anime at this point, and we want to watch something that's kind of like, maybe on the sappy side. I don't know. We just kind of want to have a good time. And so I pulled up, Courtney, who is on staff with us, she watches tons of anime, right? She's seen so much anime. Her number one anime, she said that she is her favorite is an anime. I'm saying manga. Technically, it's also manga, but called Ancient Magus Bride or Mage's Bride. I don't actually know how you pronounce it. It's Magus, so it's like Magus, but it's like I think it's supposed to refer to mage. So Ancient Magus Bride, and I've heard of it. I've heard of it before, and it says it's romance, but it says it's like kind of dark, but it's kind of mysterious, but it's kind of wholesome. And I'm like, okay, well, I trust Courtney, so I'm gonna like try watching this. Yeah. So we've been watching that, and we're pretty far into it. I don't know how long it is. I think it is done. I don't think it's ongoing. I think it is finished. At least I hope so, because I'd be really mad if it wasn't actually. But we're watching through it, and it's such a like surprisingly good show, which that makes it sound like I didn't actually trust like Courtney's opinion or anything. That's not necessarily what I mean. It's just the show keeps surprising me because the way it's it's set up, where like basically the setup is there's this girl. She's like 15. She's like a teenager, 15 or 16. I don't remember. She's a teenager who has had just an awful life. The world has hated her. Her parents didn't want her. Her family didn't want her. No one likes her. They make fun of her. And she kind of gets to a point in which she just doesn't want to live anymore. But she convinces herself, or is convinced, it's not super clear, I guess, so far, but that she should sell herself instead. Basically, someone's like, hey, if you can't make use of yourself, someone else will make use of you. And she just goes through with it, which I'm like, girl, you maybe shouldn't? I mean, I don't know. So, and she ends up going on this really, like, weird auction for, like, very mysterious people. And she is bought by a very mysterious man named Elias, who's a mage. And Elias basically buys her and says, you're going to be my apprentice. And I'm going to teach you magic. And you're like, what is going on here? This thing was titled as romance. This thing is like, it's called the Ancient Magus Bride. And like by the end of the first episode, this is not a spoiler because again, it's in the title. He's like, oh yeah, not only are you going to be my apprentice, I kind of thought you'd be my bride as well. And she's like, excuse me? What? And this guy is also just like not human. Like he has a skull for a face and not a human skull either. It's like a goat or elk kind of looking skull. And so that's kind of the premise. And there's some weirdness that happens even just in the first episode, especially with all that description. It sounds like, I don't know, it already kind of, basically the first episode put up a couple red flags for me where I was like, I don't know about this. And also turns out she's a very special individual. I won't really go into specifics there, but she randomly is a very special individual. So in the sense that like everybody like wants her, like for her power, essentially. She has like this power that everybody wants. Which I'm like, okay, there's a lot of tropes here. There's a lot of like really potential red flags here, like not screaming red flags yet, but there's like there's some things here that are kind of weird, right? But then as the show goes on, I'm like constantly surprised with how that stuff is being dealt with, how it's being treated, and specifically how her trauma is being presented. Because I feel like her trauma is like, I don't know, like obviously a lot of anime like features trauma, but I feel like when I think about anime that does feature trauma, I feel like this has to be one of the best presentations of it, at least so far in the show.
That's cool.
Because she really does have this awful, tragic sort of backstory in life. And so that sort of goes into how she deals with every situation, how she treats herself, how she treats other people. And people also sort of like call out like unhealthy behaviors, which is like crazy for anime. I'm like, people are calling out unhealthy, like toxic behaviors. Someone like, there's like one episode where they're like, listen, Chise, her name's Chise. Like, listen, Chise, I'm concerned about you. Like, you're acting really codependent to this guy. And she's like, oh, frick, you're right. And it's just like, I never would have seen that in anime. It's like, this weird twist of like, what you would maybe expect from, oh my gosh, Twilight? It's like Twilight, it's Beauty and the Beast, but there's also like, just a lot of fun, like, magical creatures she gets to interact with and like cool magic things that happen. So that's also what's fun, is that like almost every episode is like a, not necessarily a monster of the week, but just like a fae of the week. Like you get to like meet new fae and figure it out. And it almost feels like a slice of life show. But it's not. It's like very, very like continual. I guess slice of life can also be continual, but I really love how they set up these little things early on in these episodes. You know, these introduce these characters, these concepts, these stuff about our past or whatever, and then like it just keeps getting brought up, right? And it's just the way they set things up is like pretty clever, and I just am a really big fan of like that foreshadowing. And again, just like these characters, there's like in like the first or second episode, Elias takes Chise to one of his like mage friends, and she's like, "Hey, so you're like his apprentice, huh? Can you like tell me more about that?" She's like, "Yeah, like he said he was gonna like marry me and all this stuff, and he like bought me and all this stuff." And she just like, this lady, this friend, just punches Elias in the face, and it's just like, she's like, "You cannot do that. You are awful, and I hate you. You need to leave because like this is unacceptable behavior." And I'm just like, I just don't anticipate, I don't ever expect that in anime. Anime has such like, sorry, but low standards when it comes to like,
oh yeah,
toxic behaviors and unhealthy things like that, and relationships. And so the fact that, again, they're just treating her trauma so like, it's not just like a tragic backstory. It actually affects how she lives, how she makes decisions, and how she treats people, including herself. Which is how trauma actually works in real life. And so I think that is so cool and fascinating to see that, because usually in anime, it's always just sort of restricted to, oh, tragic backstory, they're sad and they like need to be fixed. Whereas for Chise, it's like you're seeing this growth and you're seeing her run into these walls that a lot of like folks who go through these really traumatic events like find themselves in, and she's having to kind of work around that. But also, like, cool magic stuff's happening, and there's, like, really cool, like, creatures. And so, I've talked a lot about this, but I really like it so far. And it's surprisingly very, very wholesome. There's a lot of really wholesome moments. And again, I don't really know how it's going to end, so I'm hoping it kind of keeps up this trend of, like, me liking it. Because it could just, I don't know, it could take a nosedive at any time, I suppose.
It is anime.
It is exactly right. That's where it's like it's going really well so far, but it's true. It's still anime. It could just take a nosedive at any point, but I'm really liking it so far. So,
cool.
Anyway, that's what I've been watching.
We'll move on to the TV news then. We've just got a couple things here. I think we'll start with Doctor Who, because the headline was not at all what I thought was going on here. 60th anniversary is coming up very soon, which is exciting. Congratulations, Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So David Tennant and Catherine Tate are going to reprise their roles in the 60th anniversary special, which is really cool. Those are TV episodes. There's another thing happening called Doomsday. So it's Doctor Who Doomsday, and it is a multimedia story, cross-media story. So it's audio dramas, it'll be novels, it'll be comic books, it'll be video games, which I thought was a crazy one.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's all kind of like pseudo-canon, but it's about an assassin that travels time going after the Doctor.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it's neat. It's not at all what I thought it was, but it's neat. The trailer looks atrocious. The trailer for it is kind of like I don't know. It looks like really, really old school Doctor Who.
Trailers for like books and audio dramas are always kind of weird anyway to me.
Yeah, it
so
looked like a green screen. Doom is the name of the assassin, not Doomsday. So it's about Doom. And Doom is played by a comedian named Suze Kepner.
Huh.
I don't know who that is, but she's a stand-up comedian, and she'll be voicing Doom in all of these different things. That's cool.
Interesting.
I think it's for people who are into Doctor Who, I think they're gonna love that. I'm excited for the 60th anniversary episodes, and there's no confirmation if these will be part of that storyline or not. But I would bet so. If they're gonna have a 60th anniversary, I feel like all of the media should at least lead up to those episodes. Would be a really cool thing to do. I probably not gonna watch and listen.
I'm really
to the whole
excited,
but it's cool.
Yes.
And then an update on Last of Us. I keep want to call it Last of Us 2. Season 2 of Last of Us.
Yeah.
Last of Us did the show. And obviously it is happening. It did amazingly well. It was beating record after record on television. Bella Ramsey, she plays Ellie. She believes that we'll be seeing season 2 early 2025. Possibly even the end of 2024. So we got about a year. Makes sense. Couple years.
Yeah.
We got a couple years.
That's what I figured it would be. At least 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. So I mean, end of 2024 would just be like a year and a half. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But is happening. It totally makes sense. Then Neil Druckmann. I always want to put an N in his name. Druckmann. He is the producer of the Last of Us TV show. He has shared a poster on Twitter. I was kind of surprised that he did something like that. It's an official poster, and it has, if anyone knows the video games, it's just a really strong forearm with a hammer, and that'd be Abby, a character.
It's
in the
very
show.
much a concept art poster, I feel like, or something. Like, it looks very much like more video gamey to me.
Yeah, you can't tell that that's like a person, like a real person, really.
Yeah, that's a piece of art. But I also thought she should have been holding a golf club instead.
Yeah, for reasons.
Hashtag Team Abby. Yeah.
I don't know that game.
Oh gosh, I can't imagine. Like, season 2 is gonna be really awkward and weird. Like,
It'd be wild.
that game takes such a dark. Like, part 2 is dark. Like, for real. Like, having I mean, part 1 is too, but like not on like the level that part 2 is. Like,
yeah,
it's
real
true.
serious.
I feel like part 2 is really, I don't want to give anything away, really a commentary on human darkness.
It is.
And where it can lead. And, that shows up in many different themes in the game.
Oh yeah.
So, excited that's happening. I want more. Shelley, you had mentioned that you couldn't really see Bella Ramsey playing an older Ellie, but we had mentioned she wore a chest wrap for most of the show. Totally makes sense. And then they wore back your clothes and stuff, and so I think they'll be able to pull it off.
Yeah, probably right. I mean,
She'll
the
be a
power
few
of
years
makeup
older anyway.
and clothing designs and prosthetics and things like that is kind of crazy. So
Yeah,
I just thought,
Very
I'm like,
important
that's
to me
kind of
is
a
that they
crazy.
are old enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, I don't know. I guess I'm so used to like something like Stranger Things, where it's like I feel like they do intentionally wait out recording and the filming,
Yeah, for the kids
filming
to grow up.
to make exactly for the kids to grow up and like have all these sort of time progressions. But
Yeah.
that's why I was kind of thinking, I'm like, well, there's a time jump. I know there's a time jump. There's time and like years between the first game and the second game. The second game going to be what the season 2 is about. So that's where I was kind of like, they're going to make
I mean, obviously it would be a lot more
but I'm sure
if it was a 15-year-old kid and they aged the 15-year-old kid up to play.
Well, yeah, I literally just did not know how old Bella was. So I was like, but I think it'll probably be fine.
And Bella Ramsey's acting is absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, she's really good.
There would be uproar, I think, if they recast Bella.
Yeah, probably.
I think Neil Druckmann said himself the only reason they would ever recast her is if she decided to exit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not going to happen, probably.
Yeah, for sure. But that's our updates for TV this week. Kind of a slow news week. Are you guys geeking out about anything else this week?
Nope, not really. I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just be real quick on it. I posted on my Instagram, and I'll show my Instagram in a minute. But I went to a rune. It's called Runestone Park in Heavener, Oklahoma, and there's a stone there that's hundreds of years old. They believed. It's so funny because everyone almost seems down about the discredit. So the stone was believed to be carved by Vikings and was used as a landmark by Vikings when they made it to the United States.
Huh.
And then everyone kept telling me that that's not true and that it's been discredited. Well, the reason that it's been discredited is because the stone is actually hundreds of years older than Vikings were.
Oh wow!
So it predates. And yeah, so that means that pre-Viking Scandinavians made it to the United States before even the Vikings did.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
I had marked the stone. The stone has been translated not to be a landmark, but not a landmark in the sense of for travel, but it was somebody's land. They were putting their name on it, so people would know that it was
That's still
there.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's pretty wild. It was neat. It's a cool little park. It was a state park, and now it's community ran. And so it's definitely got some funding issues. They got some old benches that were kind of dying out, and it sounds like they have a lot of plans for the place coming soon. But just a neat thing that I went and did. It's fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, the podcast are then, though. Shelley, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Twitter at TheShellShock24.
And LJ?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitch at LJ the Paladin.
And you can find me on Instagram at Cody Armour. I have some of those pictures. And then you can find me on twitch.tv/Geeks Under Grace on Wednesday nights. Playing Chained Echoes right now. Keep gaming, keep praying, and God bless.
Bye-bye.
Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Geeks Under Grace podcast. We love hearing from you, so feel free to ask us questions or just comment on the show by using the hashtag GUGcast on Twitter, or by joining the GUGcast questions channel in the Geeks Under Grace Discord. If you like this episode, consider leaving a review or rating of our show on your favorite podcast app. If you want even more Geeks Under Grace, you can always go to geeksundergrace.com. We love you all so much, so thank you for listening.
It's on!